Be sure to listen, like, share, and subscribe for all the latest episodes, news, and updates. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram at fistfights.friedricepodcast or at H8L.Muay Thai. On Twitter, follow us at H8L_Fight Talk.
I want this chance to show you that your God in karate is so much nonsense, and that's quite easy to do.
I know Kung Fu.
Show me. Thank you for joining us, and welcome to another exciting edition of H8L Presents Fistfights and Fried Rice. I am your host, Taz, and joined with me, I have the man, the myth, the hater of all things women, the man that absolutely despises ovaries, Lobo. How are you doing this evening, sir?
Why are you going to keep introducing me like this?
And also joining us this evening, the encyclopedia of martial arts, the Rain Man of martial arts. Some might even go so far as to say that he is the human encyclopedia of all things combat, a one Mr. Justice Magnificent.
Usman sucks still.
And joining us, we have the voice of a generation, the voice of the people, a man that truly needs no introduction, the half man, half breakfast sandwich, a one Mr. Uncle McGriddles.
Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. What's up, y'all?
Loving it. Oh, man. How you guys doing this evening?
Good, man.
Good, man.
That's what's
Doing
up.
all right?
Well, sitting around today, just allowing the minutes and hours to turn into days. And I would like to share with you guys one of the tracks that I've been jamming to all day. May I give you a sample of what I've been rocking out to all day?
Sure.
Feel the soul in that.
Ooh, girl, it's alright. Girl, it's alright.
Yeah.
If I were to say that now I have everything, and I want you to stay, no matter what tomorrow brings. Or would it make you feel something so real, like you could speak your own mind and whisper your wildest dreams? But girl, it's alright by me. There was a king who lived in a foreign land. Had riches and gold, the envy of every man. But he somehow missed out on what I have now. 'Cause every dream in this world all that I'll ever need. But girl, it's alright by me.
Girl, it's alright by me.
This is the kind of thing one might see in a movie. This is the kind of thing that inspires one's greatest poetry. Out of a million chances, who would have thought I'd be this kind of lucky one? it's alright by me. Yeah, baby, it's
Well, you guys fell in that little... That was from 2005. Steven Seagal, Songs from the Crystal Motherfucking Cave. Listened to that entire album today, and honestly, it wasn't that bad.
I didn't realize that was Steven Seagal.
One of you guys want to hear a funny story?
Sure.
Hell yeah. The year is 1999. Myself and a friend of mine, we had went down to Louisiana. And we'd gone there for just to, see some friends that were going off to college. And we were basically helping them move. A buddy of mine was like, hey, you're a Seagal fan, right? I was like, fuck yeah, man. And of course, the nerd in me just immediately starts naming off all of Seagal's shit. And fucking Hard to Kill and Above the Law and all this other shit. And he's like, yeah, would you be interested in going to see Thunderbox? And I'm like, what the fuck is Thunderbox? And he's like, well, Thunderbox is the name of Steven Seagal's band. Steven Seagal has a band? He's like, yeah, he makes fucking music. And of course, I'm not believing. I'm thinking this is absolute fucking horse shit. So he gives me this flyer. And sure as shit, there's a picture of Steven Seagal holding a guitar. And I'm completely enamored at this point. We've got to go see this show. This is going to be the most amazing thing in the entire world. We go there, and the place is fucking packed. Anyway, it's time for Steven Seagal and Thunderbox to come on the stage. And he walks out on the stage, and this motherfucker's got a do-rag on and one of those long silk Buddha-style shirts. And this motherfucker starts riffing the national anthem on his guitar, and he's killing it. And I mean, he's absolutely shredding the fuck out of the anthem. As the show goes on, it's a good show. He's playing a bunch of songs. I guess they're all off the Crystal Skull, the Crystal Cave shit, whatever. He's like, well, I got a special thing that I want to do tonight. And a buddy of mine was like, oh, cool. I've seen him do this part of the show before. You're going to love this. And he starts riffing this music with his guitar. And I'm like, man, why do I know that beat? Why do I know those lyrics? And this dude and this guy in the audience start rocking out to Rick Astley's Never Gonna Give You Up. But it was like a blues kind of soul version of it, and it was fucking awesome. And for years, I was convinced it was the real Rick Astley, but my buddy that was there with me told me no, he was just a dude. He was like a local performer down there. And they fucking killed that shit. And that was my first introduction into Steven Seagal's musical background. And I've listened to both of his albums, Songs from the Crystal Cave and Mojo Priest, and they're actually not bad albums. I wish I could say that for his later movies, but I can't. And that brings us to episode 10 of Fistfights and Fried Rice. Seagalism, the works, lies, and delusions of one Steven Seagal.
I am surprised you listened to both those albums.
Oh, I had?
So are there any videos of these performances? Because I gotta check that out.
I'm pretty sure I think he's got a bunch on YouTube.
Yeah, they're on YouTube. There's one on YouTube where he's like obviously not playing his guitar and he like holds it up in the air with one hand like it's fucking Simba from The Lion King and like the music keeps going.
I've seen that one.
Yeah, this dude could actually... Now, whether or not he actually was genuinely doing that Star Spangled Banner shit with his guitar, I do question till this day, because, I mean, it was almost Hendrix-like. That's why I question it.
Considering his track record of lying, it's anybody's guess whether he can actually play the guitar, period, but whatever.
UTBABYA, thanks for joining us, sir. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. How you gentlemen doing tonight?
I know McGriddles has a profound hatred for a one Mr. Steven Seagal, but I'm curious, how's everybody else feel about Seagal? Let me start with you, Justice. How do you feel about Seagal, sir?
So, I mean, he was a man, late 80s, mid 90s. Think that he kind of took on those roles in those movies and incorporated into his life story mysteriously. He started to become those things, the Nikos and, the different characters that he played, the chef on Under Siege. And as a martial artist, in the beginning, he earned a lot of respect. He lost a bunch over the years, but I don't have a big issue with him other than the women thing.
Which I can't wait until we get into that shit. That's going to be fun. Lobo, how about yourself, sir? What are your thoughts on a one Mr. Steven Seagal?
My biggest information about Steven Seagal is from his first couple films. After On Deadly Ground, I just kind of stopped paying attention.
What about you, UTBABYA?
So, to me, Steven Seagal, from knowing what I know of him his life in its entirety and things other than his movies. I think he's a con man through and through. I will say he may have some musical talent if it is indeed him who composed and wrote some of his songs that are floating around in the ether. But yeah, I feel like he's very much a con man and very much a narcissist. And I would love to see him get in any kind of ring or cage with the not so tough men, Jean-Claude Van Damme, or the other guys that he's called out as being not tough guys, like legit martial artists.
But sir, have you not realized that he taught Anderson the kick? And he was brought in especially to help DC for his last fight. He's a living legend.
Yeah, that went
sir.
well, didn't it?
Did they actually say he was brought in to help DC?
Whether or not he would, I'm not actually 100% sure if he was actually brought in to help DC, but he was certainly there to some extent. And I don't know if maybe he would just happen to be walking by and DC just happened to be there, or if it was genuinely like, oh shit, what's some shit we could actually do that, Stipe hasn't seen before? Let's bring in Seagal.
Yeah, let's try some shit that doesn't work at all.
Well, okay, now funny thing. Now DC brought in Seagal before. He brought him in for, I want to say it was I think it was the first Jones fight, and he actually does do an Aikido move on John Jones. I know this is hard to believe. I know it sounds fucking crazy, but there's a moment in the first John Jones fight where John Jones is doing he's going for wrist control on DC, and he grabs both of his wrists from the outside. Well, DC basically does like an Aikido throw where he basically steps in, raises his arms up over his head, and turns into the fence, and John Jones goes crashing into the fence. I shit you not, that genuinely happened, and that is an Aikido move. That is a genuine Aikido move. Now, whether or not he learned that from Seagal, I don't know, because they do have those same almost type of defensive wrist grab drills in fucking wrestling, and I mean, let's call it what it is. DC is a fucking Olympian, so I mean, I was a huge fan of Seagal when I was a kid. I thought what this motherfucker was doing on film was damn near magical. Now, mind you, the only thing I had knew or even heard of in regards to Aikido was shit that I saw in Black Belt magazine. And honestly, they weren't really doing a whole lot of articles and shit on Aikido until Steven Seagal burst onto the scene. He, at least in my opinion, popularized that particular martial art. And I know a lot of people won't admit to it now, but back in the day, if you'd ask someone, what they know of Aikido or what got them into Aikido, a lot of them would say Steven Seagal. Because in his movies, he made that shit look legit as fuck. And Seagal was like the complete opposite of what I had grew up with in terms of like an action hero. He wasn't yoked to the fucking gills like Arnold. He wasn't shredded to shit like Stallone. He didn't have the quirky one-liners like Bruce Willis. He didn't have that typical action star bravado. Honestly, he looked like a fucking English teacher. And then in the moment's notice, this dude would break your fucking wrist and kick your ass and launch you through a fucking deli window. And that was something completely different, especially for me who grew up, watching the fucking Chuck Norrises of my day. Punch, kick, shoulder throw, slow motion jumping sidekick, and, there you go. So when I saw this dude doing these weird-ass wrist locks and turns and clotheslines, I had never seen any shit like that. And I was hooked. Above the law, hard to kill, fucking marked for death, out for justice, under siege, like on deadly ground. I was hooked on all that shit. And then he started talking. The mystique that was Seagal began to slowly unravel. When this dude would talk about how he was trained in like fucking CIA and FBI and shit like that, talking this nonsense about how he was doing like covert ops missions and shit like that. And it's like, that's executive decision. That's literally like a movie you did. Okay. And even some of his other activities outside of his movies, kind of, when this motherfucker is somehow like a reincarnated Dalai Lama, that's a tough pill to fucking swallow. Like,
yeah,
like
that's an understatement.
Like this, his the fuck.
He's one of those girls that knows how to hide their crazy really well. Like, you start dating them, and then all of a sudden, like, something happens, and you go, oh, that was weird. And then, like, a couple months later, another thing. Oh, this is starting to look like kind of like a reddish flag or something like that. And then, like, another year in, and you're like, oh, my God, I'm in a fucking train wreck.
I just can't figure out where he went fucking wrong. It's like he started off so well.
like you said it perfectly. He started talking. That ties in with like what I was saying about him being a fucking con man. Because even his start in Aikido is questionable as to how and why he ended up doing some of the things that got him
Is it
to
though?
Japan. Did he marry that girl because he loved her? Man, you know, that happened to be a prominent Aikido instructor. I'm just saying. These are just things to think about. That's all.
His story was so fucking unique. Like, this dude literally just saw an Aikido demonstration. Dude goes to Japan, like, walks into this world-renowned fucking Aikido dojo and rises through the fucking ranks and becomes the first Westerner to ever open a fucking Aikido dojo in Japan. Like, that's some impressive shit.
I've heard some conflicting stories about that, though. That it was, because he was married to a girl at the time, that it was her father's dojo and he just worked there.
I mean, yeah, he did marry the head instructor's daughter, but I mean, at some point, he, at least according to the tales he is told, he eventually just took it over.
Has anyone corroborated that?
I have not.
He reminds me of that guy who said he was dropped in the woods to fight in the Kumite. You remember that guy?
It's about Frank
There's,
Dukes?
like, some
Frank
famous...
Dukes.
Yeah, Frank Dukes. There's like some guy who said he came out of the woods with like a trophy and like he was actually in like Black Belt magazine and all this shit.
That sounds like 8 different guys, though. What was that one dude who got into King of the Cage who did the fake match? Rafael Torre.
So he did a fake King of the Cage?
Yeah, he was like saying that he was a Brazilian. Well, first off, he was saying he was Brazilian. He turned out to just be a white dude. He said he was like a super high level black belt in Brazilian jiu-jitsu, and he didn't know jiu-jitsu. And also, he did a match to shut everybody up, but it was obviously a fake match.
That's a fucking genius.
That's hilarious.
That's fucking terrible.
That's genius. Yeah, I can honestly say after like when I was watching these early Seagal flicks, man, I thought Aikido was like the most brutal shit in the fucking world. The way this dude's breaking arms and breaking ankles, I'm like, holy shit! You fuck around with one of these Aikido guys, you're gonna fucking die, man. And then I got older and started looking into Aikido, and it quickly reminded me that there is a difference between fact and fiction. 1 out of like 40 of these locks would actually work. I have to give Seagal his credit. Like, do you guys know the story on how he got into Hollywood?
I think you should tell us.
This motherfucker somehow... Okay, so basically, I want to say it was a Roger Moore... James... It was either Roger Moore or Sean Connery. One of those was doing a Bond film.
When I was looking at his Wikipedia thing for all like the stuntman problems he had, one of the footnotes was that he broke Sean Connery's wrist.
Sean Connery.
On one of the.
Okay, so yeah, it was Sean Connery. Yeah, because the movie was being shot in Japan, and they were utilizing a lot of the Aikido students out of his wife's school. This motherfucker is demonstrating some type of wrist lock, breaks Sean Connery's fucking wrist, demonstrating like an Aikido throw. One of the scriptwriters was like, wow, I'm working on a movie in which this police officer, fights these corrupt yada yada yada, and then Seagal starts putting his input into it, and somehow weaseled his way into the movie that we reviewed tonight, Above the Law, and on top of that, got writing credit for his fucking input for breaking a motherfucker's wrist. And that's how he weaseled his way into Hollywood and ended up signing a multi-fucking picture deal with Warner Brothers with no acting experience, no real credits to his name in terms of like movies and shit, outside of like some choreography shit here and there, and weaseled his way to a starring role. Now that's fucking impressive at the end of the day, no matter how you break it down. If you can weasel your way into a starring role, that's fucking impressive.
Yeah, a lot of them can actually, they are trying to fight. I mean, you got Idris Elba doing kickboxing and Muay Thai. You got Michael J. White. Those guys are even. Rest in peace, Paul Walker. Paul Walker was a purple belt in BJJ. Legit.
Damn, that's what's up.
Yeah. So I mean, Hollywood is not that old. Yeah, I do karate. I got 10 black belts and Shoto Ryu, whatever, and I'm the baddest guy on the planet. No, it's not like that anymore.
Ashton Kutcher will fuck you up too. He's a great black belt.
I don't care. There's black belts and then there's black belts. And I'm just not convinced that Ashton Kutcher is a legit black belt.
Oh, yeah, Ashton Kutcher, he is legit.
No, I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't care. I refuse.
Okay.
I refuse to get my lunch money taken by Kelso. I refuse.
Wait, he's a BJJ black belt?
Yeah. He trains with the Gracies, Henner and what's his name?
That's crazy.
Ashton Kutcher, if you're listening, I'm just kidding, sir. I know that you would probably break my fucking arm and whoop my ass. Kelso rocked.
Go fuck yourself, San Diego.
Breaking news.
What was that from?
Oh,
Gotcha.
breaking news. Anthony Rumble Johnson re-enters the USADA testing pool. You think he's going heavyweight or light heavyweight?
No, light heavyweight.
Heavyweight.
I'm thinking light heavyweight.
He
man.
Yeah, no, I think he's going light.
Yeah, he already called light heavyweight.
Oh, he already called it?
Have y'all seen that dude? That dude's like, what, Thai size now? Probably a little bit bigger as much as he's been listening.
Dude,
Yeah, he stopped bodybuilding. He stopped
was big
bodybuilding.
back then.
Dude, he is
He's
gonna
small.
he's gonna be a fucking problem for any weight class he goes to.
So DC's not there. Jones isn't there. He murders everybody.
That's what I'm saying. Like, you might as well just go ahead and just
Everyone.
dust that fucking belt off and just hand it to him.
Yeah, pretty much.
Might as well
Like-
etch his
like-
fucking name in that
Like,
thing.
real talk. If I'm Dana White and I read that news, I'm like, hey, Reyes, honestly,
Like,
I'm sorry,
enjoy it for that little bit.
but if this dude hits you, he's gonna knock you back into fucking next week. How about this? Let me go ahead and dust off this belt. Go ahead and get this ready for Rumble's return. You can still fight. You guys can do some interim shit, but when he returns, I'm just giving him the Ronda Rousey treatment and just put the belt around his fucking waist.
But you know what though? Reyes wouldn't be a tough fight, but you know who would? Tiago. Tiago would possibly give him a problem.
Anthony, knock him into next year.
Possibly.
Dude, is
Tiago.
Tiago's shoulder even like normal again?
But his knees, you know, he had the surgery on both knees. He's back. He's fighting Glover in a couple of months.
You're putting Tiago.
Oh, I was thinking of Glover. Sorry,
over
I was thinking of
Rumble?
Glover, not Tiago. My bad.
You're
And
putting.
that's yours.
No, I said Tiago could cause him a problem. I didn't say
Oh, okay.
no. He gets knocked into next year.
Oh yeah. Oh, okay.
No. But he's the only one that would cause an issue in the light heavyweight division for him, pretty much.
Do you guys thoughts on Jones relinquishing the title?
It's a stunt. I mean, he comes back. I think in a year or so. I don't know if he even goes to heavyweight. I don't think so.
See, I think it might be the opposite. There's nothing really for him at 205 anymore. This is the move.
I have
agree
to.
with that.
I gotta agree with that. I think the longer he stays at 205, the more risk he takes of getting that ass knocked out.
Who does he beat at heavyweight other than Stipe?
Everybody. Maybe Francis gives it to him, but there are years and years of people talking about how he's whooped up on every heavyweight that's gone into Jackson Wink. Like,
Facts.
he's not going to be at a disadvantage like that. Like, power-wise, Francis may be able to get him. I don't see Stipe giving it to him. Stipe probably weighs the same thing walking around that Jones does. Derek Lewis, if he catches him, but he's just going to wrestle him and smother him, literally. His fight IQ is too high, man. I don't see any of the heavyweights getting him unless he gets caught.
Yeah, Rosenstrike, Blades,
I think
and
for-
Ngannou give him a problem.
I think
Big
for
problem.
Doom,
I think you're all wrong, and I think you're all batshit crazy.
Who?
Let's just call it what it is. Let's call a spade a spade. The only one to stop John Jones is the man that he fears the most. The most feared and most decorated heavyweight to ever grace the cage. A one
All right.
demolition man, Alistair Overeem. Alistair Overeem wins by whatever the fuck he wants to. He will clinch John Jones up and knee him into next century. Then he head kicks Stipe into next fucking week.
So wasn't
Ngannou got lucky.
Overeem
I'm
at
calling it
Jackson
now.
Wink?
Ngannou got
was.
lucky.
He was
Jackson
at
Wink.
Jackson Wink.
He was at
Yeah,
Jackson Wink. And you know what
For years.
happened? And you know what happened?
And he was probably getting the beat down from John. One
Absolutely
of
not.
those heavyweights that they talked about.
Pretty much.
Absolutely
They said
not.
every heavyweight that stepped in there got it from Jones.
At the time, Overeem wasn't heavyweight. He was more like middleweight.
Or Smith.
At the time, Overeem was more juiced than Jones ever was.
You see,
Took grand.
you all are completely undermining Overeem. You see, I will acknowledge that he has tasted a few knockouts here and there, and he has lost a few here and there, and he may have gotten concussed here and there, and highlight reeled here and there. But yeah, that's all I had. That was the only argument I can make. And then my alarm clock went off, and then reality.
yeah, tasted a
woke me
few
back up.
knockouts.
Yeah. His
like,
head was
I
here
tasted
with
him.
Ngannou and was there with Rosenstein. Yeah, you're right.
But he never fell to the calf kick. Let's just put that out there.
Yeah, he tasted that Congolese atom bomb.
See, Jones is just the right opponent for Overeem to prove his dominance. See, this is how I see that fight going. Overeem enters the cage, raises one hand up to signify, victory. Jones enters behind him. The two meet in the middle. They touch gloves. John Jones does that weird Spider-Man crawl thing that he does. And Overeem just bides his time, waits for John Jones to stand up. And then all the lights in the arena go out. And then myself and whoever's willing to risk jail time climb into the cage and bludgeon and club John Jones with the lights on. And then we escape before the lights cut back on, WCW style. And when the lights come back on, it's just Overeem standing over Jones's body. And the new heavyweight champion, the Demolition Man.
So basically, it's like Akuma's finishing attack. Like, the stranger goes black.
I was just going to say that.
You hear a whole bunch of stuff, and he's just laying on the ground, sprout out after it. Right?
Just going to say that.
Cool.
Yep.
Yeah, that's
Just
exactly.
like flashes of red in the blackness.
That's like my favorite finishing move ever in fighting games is Akuma's.
Oh my God, man! Like when you hit somebody with it, and then you're pissed off.
Am I the only one that truly felt vindicated by the single-handed destruction of one Sugar Sean?
So yeah, I would say
Bro,
no.
I was right there with you. I was right
here's
there
the thing
with
though. But it was an injury. It was
Yes, it was,
I mean,
sir.
it was an injury. I'm not gonna say it was a freak injury. It was an injury.
He
and if you
caught a
look at
calf
the first
kick,
round,
and he couldn't take
Sean
it.
was giving it to him. Sean was giving it to him in the first round though.
Was he?
Yes.
Or was he just landing a few shots here and there, and Cheeto
He
was waiting and
landing-
biding his
He was
time?
landing more shots than the other guy. How about that?
So here's what happened though. The first round he started out well, but then the other dude started getting his footwork down a little bit by the end of the first round. Then it was. I'm not saying it would have gone one way or the other. I'm just saying he kind of let him throw stuff and just started reading him. And I wish it would have ended differently, but dude, that hashtag sugar free was the greatest thing I had seen.
Classic.
So long.
So here's what I'll say about that. I'll say that you can't take anything away from Vera. He won the fight fair and square, right? There's a good chance that his ankle got messed up or whatever got messed up is because the kick was checked or, like he reacted to his crazy footwork and like he stumbled upon whatever the case may be, right? But with that being said, it does leave a question mark, and I'm not ready to count his skills out yet.
Oh, I'm not counting his
that's why I'll
skills.
leave it.
I'm not counting his skills out at all. But by all means, allow me to clear the air. I respect everything he has done as a fighter. All I'm saying is, when you go from the green as grass kid and you make a statement and you put yourself out there, that's cool. I respect that. He's on the big stage. He's literally living the American dream right now, and I can't hate on him for that. But when you start with the fur fucking coats and you're larger than life and you're a fucking rock star and you're this and you're that and it's the sugar show and yada yada yada, all I'm saying is I expect you to be able to take more than one calf kick and keep fighting. Allow me to remind people out there about one Jamie Varner who got kicked in the fucking ankle and could barely stand on that shit and kept swinging until there was nothing left. I'm not calling into question his skill set whatsoever. What I am beginning to question is that fight IQ and that heart.
So I'll say, as he was walking out to the cage, it looked like something was wrong. I don't know how else to say it. Like, he looked like either he was not confident in himself, or he was worried about something, or he thought he might be outmatched. I don't know what it was, but he definitely didn't have the same, it didn't seem like his heart was in his swagger. He certainly did not go out on his shield and talks as much as he should.
He went out like a bitch.
Yeah,
he didn't show heart. He didn't show testicular fortitude. He didn't show shit. He showed he could ride a gurney.
Let me go ahead and get, since I'm the only Sugar Sean fan on
No,
here.
no. See, again, I know my words are harsh, but here's the thing.
Yeah, Sean fan too.
Like here's the thing. Like I said, I respect him as a fighter, but this is my thing. If you're gonna walk and talk and live this fucking rock and roll lifestyle, then you got to live it through and through. For those who know me and who've watched fights with me, they know that I'm not the biggest Conor fan for the shit that he does outside of the ring. What he does inside of it, I have nothing but fucking respect for. But here's the difference between the two. Conor has earned the right to rock the fucking fur coats and act larger than life because, let's call it what it is, for a good amount of time he carried that goddamn company on his back. He helped make the UFC far more relevant and more of a household name than they had ever have been in the years before. But each time he went out on his shield. He didn't get kicked in the leg and get his fucking head bounced off the fucking canvas.
He gassed and tapped out.
He did. He gassed and he tapped out.
Before that,
but before that, he was in a fucking war.
He did the impossible a couple times too. I mean, the way he made. First of all, let's not talk about Aldo. We won't mention that, right?
We will never speak of that,
right? But he did that, right? That happened. Then, like the Conor that beat Eddie Alvarez, that was a Super Saiyan, dude. Like blonde hair and all. Like, did you see that combo he put Eddie out with? What was it, like a 5-hit combo?
Yeah, that shit was fucking
like
ridiculous.
5 punches each one of them. Yeah, that's Eddie Alvarez. Like Eddie's not a
Alvarez
bitch.
get hit, but he gets hit though a lot.
Eddie's not a bitch, dude. He gets hit by a lot of people and he still wins.
That ain't got nothing to do with being a bitch. That just got hit. He get hit. He got hit by Michael Chandler too, didn't he?
Okay, he got hit by Michael. He got hit by a lot of people. How many?
He got hit. He got hit by some random dude over at One FC, right?
So tell me this: who before or after has made Eddie look like that?
Dustin Poirier was putting them hands on him before he started doing all kind of illegal stuff.
So I get that Dustin beat Eddie, right? Like Dustin put hands and got you, right? But with that being said, like Conor made Eddie look like a kid. Like really, it's like I'm a senior in high school and I'm fighting my 11-year-old brother. That's how he made it look. So say what you will about Conor, man. Like I don't like his bravado or his attitude. I'm more of a respectful martial artist myself.
And that's my whole thing. I don't hate on anything that these guys, like I use Sugar Sean and I use Conor as the examples. I don't hate on anything that they do inside of the ring because that shit's fucking impressive. I mean, I'm not going to take anything away from Sugar Shane. The dude has got that one-hit knockout power, and I will fucking give him that. But here's the thing. If you're going to talk all this shit and you're going to dye your fucking hair the colors of your opponent's flag and shit like that, I'm expecting you to live and die in that fucking cage. I'm not expecting you to get kicked in the fucking ankle or kicked in the calf, stumble and fall down, get carried out on a fucking gurney. I mean, for fuck's sake, look at Ben Askren. He fucking died. Got his skull kneed from his shoulders to the back of his ass and still walked out of that fucking cage on his own 2 feet. When is the last time you saw someone have to get gurneyed out?
Silva, when he broke his shin.
That's a break. That is an actual break.
Silva, but speaking of that, like, because I couldn't say anything earlier, but I blame Seagal for Anderson's downfall.
Yeah,
let's just put that
as DC, because DC was fooling with him.
Not DC. It's
Mustang.
It's not just by association. Like he was teaching Anderson stuff, and I think Anderson's like Anderson was bored enough with all his success in the UFC. He's like, I'm just gonna try new stuff. You see him trying Wing Chun. You see him trying all this other craziness. Like I blame it on Anderson. I blame it on Steven.
That's fair. I'm glad you brought that up because that's how we're going to segue back to Seagal. Mustang, let me ask you a question. Do you remember in the first Jones and DC fight where DC pulled off a fucking double wrist lock throw on John Jones into the cage?
I do.
Thank you. These guys forgot that was... Now, again, I'm not saying that he learned that from Steven Seagal. Let me clear the air on that. I'm not saying he learned that from Seagal because that is a move that's used in wrestling when people are trying to get wrist control. But I do find it funny that DC did have Seagal, at least at some point in his training camp, when he fought John Jones in their first fight, and he did technically pull off an Aikido-style move. That's all I'm saying.
So here's what I'll say that was different about Seagal, right? Like I'm with you guys. I heard the part when you're like everything to on Daily Ground, or was it on Daily Ground, or what was the one where his wife and his kids got killed, and he went on his rampage? Like
Hard
that
to Kill.
Was it? That was on Daily Ground, right?
Out for Justice.
Hard to Kill, Out for Justice. Take your pick.
Hard to Kill. Hard to Kill. It's Hard to Kill.
Okay.
So on Daily Ground was the one where he did that like Native American. He went to like some reservation or whatever.
Yeah, that's when he started doing his activist shit.
Yeah, and then Hard to Kill. Well, Hard to Kill I think is my favorite one, period, of all time, right? And what I will say about like the difference between what I've seen in other movies and Steven Seagal's, which I loved when I was a kid, was that he was brutal, right? Like, so you think of Aikido, you think of just flipping people and whatever, like they'll flip them into things. They'll hit them, but you don't see blood. You don't really see too many broken bones. Like, Seagal was ruthless.
I fucking agree with you. Early Seagal films, this dude would break your fucking arms, break your ankles, break your neck, break your legs. I remember the shit in Marked to Death where he fucking took that Jamaican dude and broke his spine over his fucking knee and just hurled his body down a fucking elevator shaft.
Yep.
Like, his early work was fucking amazing. And I don't know if it's when he started becoming an activist or I don't know, man. It's just like something about him. After On Deadly Ground, it was just all down fucking hill from there. He had a glimmer of hope for a comeback with Exit Wounds.
That's a DMX one. I think I saw that.
Yes. Yeah. Him and DMX and Michael Jai White.
And I don't know who mentioned Michael Jai White earlier, but Michael Jai White is legit. I'd say as far as action stars, he's probably the most legit martial artist out there. My personal opinion.
I can agree with that. So since we're back on the subject of Seagal, actor, producer, screenwriter, martial artist, musician, and entrepreneur. I don't know if you guys have had the privilege or had the distinct honor of checking out Seagal's, what do you want to call it? Seagal's products, if you will. And one of the products, I was wondering if you guys have ever had a chance to either look into or try, is this.
Hey there, we want to tell you about Steven Seagal's new energy drink. It's called Lightening Bolt. It's 100% natural and it tastes just great. In fact, it's so good, he likes swimming in it.
How's it going, baby?
Boss, another...
So sorry for you. You know what? I really wanted to swim in Steven Seagal's Lightning.
Yeah, but you know I love doing...
Lightning Bolt is unique energy. It's the first of its kind. With 100% pure juice blends, it's the only energy drink to contain Tibetan Goju berries and Asian cordyceps. It's the spot every time. Lightning Bolt comes in 2 delicious flavors, Asian Experience and Cherry Charge. So why not give your taste buds a real thrill?
It's good to be the king, isn't it? And guess what? What happened to you?
If you drink Lightning, try it today. It's electric.
I need to know, have any of you tried Steven Seagal's Lightning?
What the fuck did I just hear?
Somebody actually did.
I just want to clear the air now. I did not make that voiceover. That's actually the actual commercial for Steven Seagal's Lightning Bolt. I shit you not.
Amazing. Amazing.
The thing is, I had to cut and edit that shit. That shit's like 4 minutes long.
Oh, yeah, of course he could talk about his own product in a commercial for 5 minutes.
So Lobo, you said you've tried this years ago?
Years ago, and it was still on shelves. Yeah, I had a Cherry Charge, and I think I bought it once and never again.
I remember I used to see this shit at the fucking gas station all the time.
Yeah, I have to get some. I must, because I need to know how terrible this shit is. Actually, I think I just want to get it and then not open it and put it up as like decorative art, like Andy Warhol style.
What's up, Deku?
I'm doing okay.
Actually, just talking about the entrepreneurship of one Steven Seagal. We're talking about his energy drink, Lightning Bolt.
Energy.
Yes, Steven Seagal, the most athletic individual in the world, has his own energy drink, and it's got Tibetan Goju berries.
Have you ever seen him run? He is the most.
Oh my god!
His run is majestic. Lobo, wasn't it you that sent me the video of like the montage of Steven Seagal running?
Yeah.
Oh man, it is a thing to behold.
And Dad, I was like, have you seen this video?
So let me ask you guys this then, since we're back on the subject of Seagal. I'll start with you, UTBABYA. What was your favorite Seagal movie prior to it all going to shit?
I mean, there's just so much to process his movies. It's like trying to pick like a favorite sensation of pain. His movies were so hard for me to watch. I know that like he was a big part of your childhood and stuff, but it was so hard for me to sit through any of his movies. I can't pick a favorite because I think they're all just so bad.
Okay, that's fair. Uncle McGriddles, the Steven Seagal hater himself. What was one of your most fond memories of a Seagal film?
I have a literal perfect hatred for. I cannot sit through any of these fucking movies. I've like seen some like just bits of them on TV and shit. But honestly, I fucking hate this guy so much. I don't have a favorite Steven Seagal movie. I think they are all equally should be just buried.
All right, so McGriddles apparently hates every Seagal film, and there is no redeeming Seagal movie at all.
I love Van Damme when I was a kid, and I fucking hated this guy.
Lobo, how about yourself, sir? Favorite Seagal film?
I would say Marked for Death or Out for Justice, where they were the first two Seagal films I ever saw, like 8. And I just loved them from the whole time, from the beginning to end.
Justice, how about yourself, sir?
Well, I had no idea who Steven Seagal was in 1990. And I got an introduction through, not like 91, it was to Out for Justice, but Hard to Kill is still my favorite.
Mustang.
Hard to Kill.
Still a brutal ass movie. Holds up well even today. Sort of, kind of.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what, and to the point of like, you know, him being a fake martial artist and everything, I would say put Seagal into this category. Like where there's smoke, there is at least some fire, right? Like I think there is some legitimate martial arts. I mean, a lot of legitimate martial arts skill there.
All right, Deku, your favorite Seagal film?
They were all the most ones that I've seen were trash. I mean, I don't know what to say. If I can pick a favorite one, I don't know. Oh, this is terrible.
This is almost this almost sounds like you're picking between a fucking root canal or like a prostate exam.
Right? Yeah. Like it feels like I'm getting all four of my wisdom teeth pulled out, or getting hung upside down. I don't know. Shit. Though, even though it was doo-doo dog shit, the one that you had us watch, Above the Law, I guess.
That's fair. For me,
even though it was shit.
Fuck you. For me, it's a toss-up between Marked for Death and Under Siege. I like Marked for Death just for the simple fact that he just kicked the fuck out of some like Jamaicans for like no real reason. I mean, I guess there was like a reason, but I don't know. Like every early Seagal film was all the same. Somebody either wronged him or he knew someone that got wronged and he was going to avenge them no matter what. And he just took overkill to a completely different level. And I think that's one of the things that made him stand out from a lot of the other quote-unquote action stars. And with Under Siege, let's call it what it is. Under Siege was nothing more than Die Hard on a battleship. And anytime you have the great Tommy Lee Jones and Gary Busey, who at the time wasn't fully, completely apeshit crazy, that's always a good combination for films. And like I said, I think Mustang said it best. And back then, his movies were fucking brutal. And that was one of the things that I think drew myself and a number of other individuals to him, was his brutality in his films. At the time when I was younger, I always thought it was kind of fucked up that these people were doing it. But now that I'm older, I completely understand why. I completely understand now why so many different martial artists would call him out for fights. Because this fucking dude's mouth would get his ass in fucking trouble. Now, where I do lose all respect for Seagal as a person, as a martial artist, as a film star, as an actor, as a musician, as an entrepreneur, where I lose complete and utter respect for him is when I read about or have read about his treatment of women on the sets of his movies and how he treats women in his everyday life. Like, this motherfucker is absolutely deplorable. And I actually had no idea how often this motherfucker was getting hit with lawsuits from women. And now that brings me into our next segment. Uncle McGriddles, would you be so kind as to fill us in on the legalities of Steven Seagal's multiple lawsuits for sexual misconduct and how this motherfucker keeps escaping jail time?
Let's do it.
Legalities. Legalities.
All right. So fucking Steven Seagal, the man I have a perfect hatred for. So he actually has several different kinds of lawsuits against him. We're only going to talk about the sexual assault and the sexual harassment, but it is worth noting that he does have securities exchange lawsuits against him where he's like basically violating federal securities laws the way he's trying to back certain like Bitcoin type things. And he also was sued for his ridiculous show, Steven Seagal Lawman, where you can't even call it a Louisiana accent. I don't even know what the fuck that is. But apparently his crew showed up to a house to bust a cockfighting ring. They fucking ended up shooting somebody's pet, so they fucking got sued over that. But the meat and potatoes, yeah, it's fucking insane. But the meat and
I'm sorry, I don't mean to
potatoes
laugh.
of
Can
his
you imagine your fucking poodle getting shot by Steven Seagal?
What you got to do
It's
is
just fucking insanity, bro.
And then you got to put the second round where the first round went.
Okay. So it starts like right when his career starts. So this Above the Law movie came out in like 88, and this is like early 90s. So this is only early 90s. From 1990 to 1995, 7 different women accused him of sexual harassment. 2 of them received $50,000 each in an out-of-court settlement. And these were most of them related to his so-called quote-unquote late-night casting sessions, which were him being just a disgusting freak, mainly preying on girls that were like 17, 18, trying to get into this acting stuff.
Oh, wait a second. Are you saying that Steven Seagal had a casting couch?
Yes, he would have them come over for late-night casting sessions.
Holy shit.
1995, and just a spoiler alert, none of these people were successful in suing him and no criminal charges were ever pressed on him. But I'm just going to go over quickly like how many fucking women have made these claims against this guy, and then we'll talk about why nobody's successful. So that was just 1990 to 1995, 7 different women, and these are only people who have come forward. There's probably double that. 1995, another woman accuses him of threatening and beating her during the filming of On Deadly Ground. It was dismissed. I couldn't find the actual court papers for it being dismissed. It just makes mention that it was. Then 2010, 23-year-old woman files another lawsuit against him, alleging more than $1 million in damages, that he engaged in sexual harassment, illegal trafficking of females for sex. I would have liked to read the complaint there. Failure to prevent sexual harassment and wrongful termination. His show, Steven Seagal Lawman, was actually suspended while this case was going on, and then of course it came back. 2011, 1 year later. That's when they shot somebody's dog. Okay, fast forward 2017, and this is when like all the Me Too stuff starts coming out, and then a lot more actresses start speaking up. Actress Portia de Rossi, not too familiar with her, but she went for an audition and she says, quote, he told her how important it was to have chemistry off screen and unzipped his pants, and so he's disgusting there. A Dutch model came out after she came out and said that he sexually assaulted her years earlier. 2018, 1 year later, actress Rachel Grant accused him of sexually assaulting her in 2002. During pre-production on the direct-to-video film Out for a Kill. She lost her job after that. Then another one in 2018, Regina Simons. In 1993, she said she was 18 and Seagal raped her at his home when she thought she was going there for a party for his movie On Deadly Ground. So why are all these lawsuits failing? Big difference between a civil sexual harassment case and then a criminal sexual assault. So when you're suing somebody for sexual harassment, it's like 99% of the time has to be in the workplace. This stems from the Civil Rights Act of 1964. You have to show that it's continuous. Your job's potentially in jeopardy if you lose it. or if you don't, comply with their demands. It has to be something that's more like, oh, he asked me out on a date, or he made a comment. It has to, really impact you in the workplace, and you're basically in a situation where, they're taking advantage of you. It's where like the civil rights aspect of it comes in. The preponderance of the evidence standard is where these people have a really hard time winning a civil suit against him. So preponderance of the evidence is like the basic civil law standard, which if you think about it this way, it means you have to show the court that you're 51% at least likely to win. So you have to show by the preponderance of the evidence that you're more likely than not, by 51% at least, that you're right. And so when fucking disgusting people like Steven Seagal set these girls up, he puts them in a situation where it becomes completely he said, she said. So if he has a girl come to his hotel room at night or wherever he's doing this to people, it becomes your word against his, unless there's some extenuating thing. This is and this goes for not just Steven Seagal, but people who go through this kind of, sexual abuse and rape stuff, generally speaking. In the criminal context, it's even a more strict standard. It's beyond a reasonable doubt in criminal law context for sexual assault, which means that there's no reasonable way to believe it didn't happen. So that's even harder to prove. And also, he's deliberately picking victims that are young girls that are trying to get into acting. So he's like just disgusting in the way he's doing this. I think they're being dismissed, and this is just my personal opinion. There could be a million things that happened, but if I was their attorney, and you want to get it out there, so you don't want them to just sit there in silence, because you can start going through like discovery process and different ways to try to prove your thing. But what I'm betting is they started this lawsuit, then they had a frank conversation with her, and we're like, listen, you're going to fucking spend a lot of money suing this guy. And also, one of the frank conversations the lawyer has to have with these people who are suing Steven Seagal, this is specifically for sexual harassment, rape, they would probably get more money. But if, say, you go to Steven Seagal's house and this weird pervert pulls out his penis and he's just a fucking weirdo and he's harassing you, like, when you go for damages in court, they're not going to give you like a ton of money. It's not going to justify your lawsuit the vast majority of the time, because you're going to have to show the court that you have like extreme mental anguish, proven by your psychiatrist, so on and so forth. And that sounds like easy at first. You're like, yeah, of course you can go to her therapist, and they're going to come in and say, she has all this damage of it. She can't go to work, and not going to work is one of the huge things. The court wants to see you had an economic loss because of this. Like, you can do pain and suffering.
It sounds like this motherfucker just gets away, or he gets off on technicalities.
It's not a technicality in the legal sense. It's just like the way the system is set up. It's so hard for them to prove damages. Like, and so say she gets her therapist, they get a doctor in there. Steven Seagal's gonna have fucking 10 doctors that are gonna say no, that's not true. We want to examine you. We want to talk to you. They're also he's gonna have really good attorneys, and they're gonna say, oh, like, say if she says, oh, I'm depressed because of what happened to me, they're gonna fucking tear her apart and be like, okay, were you ever depressed? Were you on medication in middle school for depression? And they're gonna muddy the water so horribly. It's ultimately a thing of, it's not going to be worth it for them to pursue their civil claims. Their lawyer's going to have to explain it to them, and so nobody gets him civilly, and nobody gets him criminally, because the standard of getting him criminally is much higher than civilly. I fucking hate this guy, dude. I have a perfect hatred for him. I hate his ponytail. I hate his fucking face. He has the ugliest, most punchable face of any human. I hate his fucking yellow sunglasses he wears. I hate his like weird alien lanky body when he was younger. I hate his fat old body. I hate his shitty acting. I hate songs from the Crystal fucking Cave. I hate the way he treats women. I hate the way he treats stuntmen, the way he treats actors, the way he treats martial artists. I just have a perfect hatred for this guy. It amazes me that like somehow he has escaped the Me Too movement. Like when he was in DC's thing, it's like, dude, DC, do you not realize that more than a dozen women have accused this guy of rape over like 30 years?
Right?
Like, how did this guy get in? And not to mention, he's just a big like fraud who like thinks he's the Dalai Lama and all this fucking crazy bullshit. Like, how does this guy get in locker rooms with like top fighters? I don't get it.
Another great segment of Legalities, sir. That was fucking fantastic. We're going to take a short break. We are going to review 1988's Steven Seagal, Above the Law, Deku's new favorite movie.
And now, our feature presentation.
So the things that I can appreciate, right? I appreciate that he was painted or casted as like this guy who can't stand anything that's wrong, right? Like he has a hard on for justice, no matter what, right? So started off in Vietnam, Cambodia, wherever they were, and he was like, "Yo, they about to cut these feet off, this dude's feet off, and this has nothing to do with military intelligence. This is crooked." I thought the acting sucked. To be perfectly honest, but I can appreciate the personality that they tried to convey with his character, right? So with that being said, I can appreciate that. I can appreciate the brutality of his combat, right? You know, the broken bones and broken noses and all this other stuff. Aside from that, the movie sucked.
I can tell you what I appreciated about this movie. I appreciated Pam Grier and a young Sharon Stone. His fight scenes were crisp. He made Aikido look fucking brutal on film. The fact that he took this whimsical art of falling over and getting up and flailing in the wind and made that shit look like that could just absolutely kill a motherfucker. Bravo. I thought that he did fucking justice. No pun intended, justice. He did justice to that art of Aikido in this movie. I did like how they sprinkled a little bit of his actual life into the story, like in regards to how he discovered Aikido and then went to Japan and all that other type of shit. I respected that. I like how they did that. I thought that gave a little bit of insight into his actual life. And if I have to give it a rating, 1 being absolute fucking horseshit, and a 10 being an absolutely soul-obliterating shot to the nuts of awesomeness, this gets a 4 from me.
You guys remember the one scene where he's fighting in the convenience store and he goes through the front window, and like every other movie, the guy kind of falls on top of the guy or like rolls with him. But Steven Seagal, like a fucking flying bird, goes like straight up in the air out the window, like flapping his arms. It just looked insane to me. That was probably the only part of the movie I enjoyed because it was just fucking hysterical.
So what would you rate this movie, Mr. McGriddles?
I would give it a negative 7,000 stars because, as I said before, I have a perfect hatred for this man. I want to add one thing about this movie because this movie takes place in Chicago. The gist of it is he's the beat cop. He finds out that everybody above him is corrupt. Shocker. 2 years before this movie came out in Chicago, 17 judges, 48 lawyers, 10 deputy sheriffs, 8 policemen, 8 court officials, and state legislator James DeLeo were all arrested in what is called Operation Greylord. And what they were doing is they were fixing the entire Chicago court system to allow drug dealers to traffic drugs. And so this movie's plot is actually pretty accurate for what was going on in Chicago in the 1980s.
Oh, I did not know that at all. That actually gives it a lot more validity than I had.
Yeah, definitely look into Operation Greylord. It's way more interesting than this fucking movie.
UTBABYA, how about yourself, sir?
Again, Aikido. I tell you what, I'll give this movie a 2. And those 2 points are 1 each for Pam Grier and Sharon Stone.
Lobo, how about yourself, sir?
I was shocked at how bored I was with this movie, to be honest.
Man, you guys are brutal.
It's like the opening scene really lost me. Then I was just checked out in the first bar fight scene we had, the first real action scene in the whole movie. I was like, all right, this is okay. Then the shootout happens where they find the explosives. Then I don't care after that.
Okay, how would you rate this movie, sir?
Solely for Pam Grier and Sharon Stone, I'm going to give it a 4. For Steven Seagal, I'm going to give it a 1.
That's fair.
So
That's
I'm going to
fair.
go with a perfect 2.
That math was a little off, but all right. That's okay. That's
I'm drunk right now. Who cares?
Justice.
Before I start, I want to say you guys are absolutely batshit crazy. This movie is a classic. I mean, you got Steven Seagal in the late 80s playing that quiet, and as Mustang said, that, you know, he has a hard on for justice role. He's a tough guy. He wants to do what's right. The action, the fight scenes, I mean, the use of Aikido, brutal at best. Just, you know, the techniques are there. Some even better choreography than some of the newer action movies, if you want to call it that. You know, because we were discussing that earlier.
We were.
But most definitely before you got Pam Grier, you got Sharon Stone, you got a semi-mobile Steven Seagal who can actually move around. He still runs like a 6-year-old girl trying to that just lost their bike or going downhill, but. Most definitely a 4. It's still a classic. It still holds up. It's still one of his best films that made him a legend before all the douchebag stuff he did.
Deku, the living legend himself.
Man,
how would you rate this movie, sir?
You know what? This movie was so fucking trash. I don't understand. Look, Justice, you talking about something. This is a classic. Classically Hershey squirts. That's what I call it. Okay? Because, for one, I was confused throughout the whole entire movie. The movie begins, they're slapping their hands in the Aikido club, or look like a circle jerk to me, each other. 2, you see a scene of him coming out of, I guess, the hood or the ghetto or whatever, and whatnot, and guys, oh, he's in my shit, or whatever. I'm like, so he's just in here raping bitches in the hood. I didn't find out till the other detective or other cop comes in. I'm like, oh, he's playing a cop. All right, cool. That ain't explain none of that at all. And the only good thing about the movie was the one fight scene when it was in the convenience store with the Indian. And he made the movie to me. His punchlines were funny and actually had me laughing. This movie took me 4 hours to fucking watch. Because it was so fucking boring, and it was such doodle sickles. Oh my god, it's probably the second worst movie I've seen in my whole entire life. It was almost up there with Bloodthirst or Blood Bones 3, whatever the fuck we watched like a month ago or whatever. I don't care to remember none of the names because it's such a fucking trash ass movie, and like I said, -8. And please, people, don't waste your time watching this shit.
Okay,
you're just gonna
waste an
hour.
That's fair.
It's also an hour and 40 minutes.
Oh, it's an hour and 40. Oh, okay. Wow.
Yeah, it's way too long, dude. It should be like 15 minutes.
It should be 15 minutes of Pam Grier and Sharon Stone.
Okay, well, like I said, I appreciate you guys taking the time to watch this film, and I definitely appreciate you guys taking the time to review this movie. Justice, would you be as so kind, sir, as to let us know the technique of the day?
Improve your skills, son. Harden your body. Become the #1 man. Do not ever let anyone beat you.
Technique of the day. Go back to the convenience store fight scene. Towards the end of the scene, there's like an Asian guy kind of throws a front kick towards Steven Seagal. He kind of parries the front kick. The guy kind of steps forward. He hits him with like a right ridge hand clothesline and just completely decapitates him. I mean, again, besides what the haters saying about the movie being bad, the use of Aikido in this movie makes it look like this would be actually functional in a street fight, but we know that wouldn't be true. So we're just gonna leave this, just for the movies. Do not try this at home. You're gonna get hurt really bad.
I actually disagree. I think the clothesline that he uses is a dope ass move, and I've actually used that before, and that shit works.
Do tell.
Yeah, please. I'm
He's
just
done
gonna
it to
need
people at the, he's done it to people at the gym as well.
I have. Matter of fact, yeah, Mustang was there a couple times when I was catching people with that during sparring.
Correct.
Actual ridge hand.
Yep.
See,
Yep, I was laughing my ass off.
Yeah, see, if you go back and actually watch what Seagal does, he doesn't hit you with the ridge hand.
Yeah, he just forms it with his
he
with his
forms
hand.
it with his hand.
He's
Genuinely clotheslining you, and the motion that he's using is one hand is on your lower back to break your foundation. The forearm goes in an upward then down motion. That's what actually takes you off your feet. So as one hand pushes your pelvis forward, the other hand goes right, or the forearm goes right up underneath your jaw, raises your head up, and then you basically take your thumb and point it straight down towards the ground, and that's what causes that lawn chair type motion.
So now let me ask you a question. Does it matter that that Asian guy or that other guy that you clothesline was smaller than you?
Not at all, because the guy that I did it to was bigger than me.
Like think of it like have you ever seen when somebody goes for like an overhand into a takedown?
Mm-hmm.
Same concept.
Same
like
exact
you're
concept.
hitting high, you have all that weight coming forward, and then you just clap those legs. Like you clap the legs with a takedown, but lower back, same concept.
Yeah, that is a legit move, and it works.
I'm gonna have to look into that.
And it's damn embarrassing too.
Yeah,
You get hit with that. You're like, I don't ever want to come back to this place. Can't show my face here anymore.
Yeah, I need to know who you hit with that so we can. Be like, hey.
I don't want to call any names. But as Mustang could tell you, it was more than one. It was a couple people that I've caught with that shit, to the point where other people had asked me to stop catching them with that, so I stopped doing it.
Yeah, I get swept, but I don't remember you clotheslining me like that though. Yeah. Not saying you couldn't.
No, I wouldn't do that to you.
He's like, let me be clear, it's not a challenge.
Yeah, exactly. Like I'm not. That's not. Now you got me feeling nostalgic and bad for all the people that I've clotheslined at the gym.
No. Which is it, nostalgic or bad?
Yeah, you don't feel bad.
Nostalgic. Just be honest.
Speaking of feeling nostalgic, since Justice, you're on such a roll, would you be so kind as to take us back down memory lane, sir?
Back in the days when I was young, I'm not a kid anymore. Back in the days when I was young, I'm not a kid anymore. Back in the days when I was young, I'm not a kid anymore. But some days I sit and wish I was a kid again.
All right, we're gonna go to Hawaii, mid '90s, late '90s. Super Brawl, great promotion. The fight to watch for Super Brawl: Danny Boy Bennett versus R.J. Palmer. Super Brawl 3. Danny Boy Bennett hits J.R. Palmer with a head kick that you will never see for another 1,000 years. I don't even know how he's still alive.
That is a very bold claim, because there have been some great head kick knockouts.
Yeah, not like that where he pretty much, his hands went up and he leaned to the side like one of those balloons that be flapping in the air out on the side of the road. He went out like this, like a zombie with his hands up. He was done. Like, no, you're not gonna see anybody get laid out like that. You seen some people fall back on, like Crow Cop got kicked and he fell back on his knee. But Danny, I mean, I guess it doesn't help it that that J.R. Palmer was ugly. And he had this crazy hairstyle, and he just pretty much, I mean, man, his arms flailed in the air, and he got laid out. I mean, he was flatlined pretty much. Check it out. You'll know what I'm talking about. I promise you. It's a head kick that'll be like, oh, wow, he's dead.
That was an organization that never got the love it truly deserved.
Yeah, they had foot stomps. They could pretty much do almost everything except headbutts and groin shots. I think it was just the production wasn't that good.
The production was ass.
Yeah, the camera angles, aren't that good, and being on VHS, one of the ways to get it didn't help either.
Well, gentlemen, that was all I had in regards to episode 10, Seagalism. I want to thank all of you for taking the time to coming out this evening. Deku, Justice, Lobo, Mustang, Uncle McGriddles, UTBABYA, you guys have made this once again another enjoyable show, and I deeply appreciate you guys taking the time to watching and reviewing this movie, even though Deku has proven and shown that his taste in movies fucking suck, but that's okay. You are still loved, sir, and you are still appreciated. Be sure to listen, like, share, and subscribe for all the latest episodes, news, and updates. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram at fistfights.friedricepodcast or at H8L.Muay Thai. On Twitter, follow us at H8L_Fight Talk.
When you take the pebble from my hand, it will be time for you to leave.